Here you can see I'm on channel 1 with the MKH 416 microphone, and I do have a preset specifically for that. That's what this is right here. I can change these all around, but no need to. In fact, I can also take off the processing. Here you go. Here's what the mic sounds like completely unprocessed. It's probably different levels. Let me just check and make sure I'm not peaking. Yeah, it doesn't sound the same though, does it? So now I'll put the processing back on. You can understand why you'd want processing on your live stream and why the Revelator is so awesome, because in my headphones, no latency, no delay, no nothing. This is basically the effect that people want out of a universal audio Apollo device, but you're getting it here in a fraction of the cost with the Presonus Revelator io24. So let's dive into the fat channel here. And you can see that I can do everything on this mic signal. Now, this is my chain for the 416 with the Revelator. I've got the high-pass filter on at 40 hertz. I don't like to cut it too high with this mic. I try and keep it pretty natural sounding. I actually do not use the noise gate / expander, but I will experiment with it here. Watch as I turn it on and off. I'll give you a second to really turn up your volume and get a sound of yeah, there is room noise in here. There's air conditioning. There are some electrical units and devices, I think, in the room next door. I hear noises in this room. It's not a quiet room by any means. It's acoustically untreated, but it's also noisy. Listen in. See that? Now I'm cutting pretty heavily there. In fact, it got a little bit chatty and choppy there when the gate was kind of closing back up on me. So let me adjust the threshold here. And now you can see at its lowest level, there's a little bit of chatter in there. So I'm going to be honest with you. Sure, I could crank this thing up and I could use it like this. And for the most part on live streams, if people are listening and they're not discriminating too much on every last bit of the audio, they would never tell, and it would sound better because it is gated to a certain degree. But I could hear that gate closing right there. And even if I do the fastest attack and release possible, maybe that makes it sound just a little bit better. Yeah, in fact, it does, but oh, it chopped me off there. There's just a little bit too much noise in this gate, which is, by the way, in expander mode right now, as much as I play with the settings. So I'm actually going to turn it off for a second. Let me do the AB on and off. See, and it is cutting like 6, 10, maybe 12 dB when I turn it back on. Maybe even a little bit more. I'm not a big fan of using expander or a gate in a room that is not treated, because you're fighting a really uphill battle. If you're just trying to get rid of that last bit of noise or something in a treated space, no problem. That's what an expander can help you out with. That's what I do in the home studio. But here, in this type of setting, it's a lost cause, so I just don't use it. EQ-wise for the 416, you can see that I'm putting on a pretty aggressive curve. I'm just trying to get more of a broadcasty type sound. And again, this is for me doing videos and live streams. I need that real-time signal processing. And yeah, to be perfectly honest, I prefer that it comes from the hardware unit like this, the Presonus Revelator io24. But here's my EQ curve. On the low end, I'm pushing 90 hertz at about 4 dB. So, you know, I'm trying to get the 416 to sound more like a large diaphragm condenser. I'm giving it some body. Then in the low mids, you can see that this low also comes with a bit of a cut here, probably, I don't know, at 120 hertz, something like that. It's a push here and a cut there. In the low mids, all the way up at 2000 hertz, right, for some of the fundamental frequencies, I'm pushing here up at 3 dB on a pretty fat Q. This one's more of a tighter Q. Fat Q here. And then actually, I'm cutting at the high mids at 6,500 hertz. I'm cutting 2 dB. This is mostly for sibilance on a very tight Q right there. And then I'm actually reducing here. Let me go to the high frequency. Reducing just a tad at 9,000 to a tune of 1.05 dB. I'm just trying to cut down, I mean, this mic has a ton of presence and sparkle. I'm just trying to cut down a little bit on that. Okay, so that is my EQ curve here on the Presonus Revelator for the Sennheiser 416. And then that brings me to compression, which I always want last. Now, it's great about this Presonus. You can actually flip-flop it. If you wanted compression first and then EQ, does it sound different to you? Probably not a whole bunch. Maybe a little bit. Tonality sounds different. Here's the compressor first. Let me flip-flop it now. The compressor is after the EQ. All right, so it's pretty close. Gain I've got set at 55. Peak reduction I've got set at 60. This definitely models like an LA2A. And I'm trying to keep this thing constantly moving. I'm not trying to have it slammed all the way to the left on normal speech. But if I yell, right, it's going to obviously do its job and compress for me. So those are my settings there. It's great to have, again, real-time compression while I'm doing these videos, recording like this one or live streaming if I were. I can get to the limiter here, hard limiter at 0.5 dB. So basically, I just do not want to peak. That's all I'm trying to avoid here is ultimately clipping. And so you can also see that I don't have any of the voice effects on, but I can turn this on too. Ooh, now this sounds bad on purpose. This is one of the filters. Hang on. I can also do vocoder. Okay, vocoder. Ooh, that one's kind of spooky. Detuner. Detuner. Or doubler. Doubler. Now this one is maybe more useful, right, than some of the other ones. How about delay? Delay. You can have way too much fun with this, can't you? Okay, enough. Anyway, so you can do some real-time effects. Thanks for being here on the channel. You've watched this long. Thumbs up on this video if it provided you some value, and subscribe to the channel so I can see you next time with some more great content.